Hey guys, what's going on? It's Tucker, and this time I'm back with some news for Black Ops 2. Now, I'm not going to be covering Black Ops 2 Zombies today because a lot of people have already covered that, and frankly, I don't feel like going back and covering something that somebody else has already covered a bunch of times. But I am going to be covering where and when the setting of Black Ops 2 is going to be made, and as well as what the weapons are going to be like. Is there any changes? Are there going to be any new advances? And what's the gameplay going to be like? So, without further ado, let me get on into it. Okay, so Black Ops 2 is set in the future, 2025 to be exact, far enough into the future to bring newfangled equipment into play, but not too distant to weigh you down on the little pew-pew laser sounds that you get from the laser handguns and plasma rifles and death rays. Halo. But 13 years is a long time in the world of technology. 13 years ago, there were giant supercomputers costing millions of dollars that wouldn't be able to hold a candle to the PS3, for instance. And the time between 2012 and Black Ops 2 settings, it's clear that tech companies haven't eased up on their R&D budgets at all. From a warfare point of view, we're talking drones primarily. No longer will humans be your only enemy. Plotting and rolling assault drones with rifles, chain guns, and rocket launchers strapped onto their sides are common foes found in Black Ops 2, as are aerial mechs in the form of weaponized quad rotors. Luckily, you'll have all this equipment at your disposal too, along with the limited command abilities courtesy of timely pressing of the D-pad. Black Ops 2 weapons showcase a mix of the familiar and the new. Rocket launchers haven't really progressed much far beyond the fire rocket at a bad guy, rocket go boom, bad guy goes splat. Why spoil a winning formula? On the other hand, certain rifles now have the ability to punch through cover with a railgun-like effect thanks to charged multi-bullet shots, while grenades are quickly and effortlessly launched over huge distances thanks to a sleek hand cannon. It's going to be kind of like Iron Man, but that's just going to bring a whole new noob tube element into the game, and I'm not sure that I'm going to enjoy that too much. Examples of tech progression aren't limited to just the killing gear either. As early as the mission select screen, future tech is on the show by the way of glasses that will display all the info to you that you'd normally associate with a first-person shooter heads-up display. Looking ahead during an early on-rails van ride through downtown Los Angeles gives us ample time to make out the speedometer and fuel gauge displays in the corners of the windshield. Above the freeways, computerized displays point commuter traffic in the right direction. But it is also to point out that developers Treyarch haven't gone overboard with holograms and the virtual stuff. Like, for instance, regular lampposts and street signs are still metal and paint. Strip away all the collapsing skyscrapers, the jets on bombing runs, and the drones mowing down anyone and everyone, and Black Ops 2 presents a credible prediction of what the cities of 2025 might look like. But it's also set in the past. Black Ops 2's villain is a man named Raul Menendez, and he is destined to become an ionic gaming bad guy. And to build him up in this manner, his story, much like yours, begins 30 years previously in the mid-80s. While the majority of Black Ops 2's action is set to take place in 2025, you'll occasionally be flashed back to the land of Black Ops 1. The only 80s environment revealed so far is Afghanistan, a dusty setup with horseback riding as your Black Ops team secretly meets up with Chinese forces to supply a guy that I have no idea how to pronounce his name, so if I murder this, I'm sorry guys. Looks like Mujahideen. But anyways, to supply him with weapons to fight off the Soviet forces. And don't expect a clean 1980s 2025 split either. There's a good 30 years in between ripe for missions, and Treyarch is likely to leverage at least a couple of levels out of this reign. Present day antics are doubtful given that this is a period already covered off by the Modern Warfare trilogy, but there's no way Treyarch is going to create a grand villain in Menendez simply by showing his geniuses in the 80s and then leaping forward 30 years without so much of a hint as what he's been up to in between. That would be ridiculous. The second thing I want to cover is it is a direct sequel to Black Ops. It's called Black Ops 2 for a reason. Treyarch were fond of the interrogation storytelling mechanic in the first game and wanted to go on with something similar for the sequel. At the same time, it was also well aware of the gamers' fondness for Black Ops' leading men and the need to wrap up the Black Ops story. With those 2 points firmly in mind, Black Ops 2 is a tale of Frank Woods as he recalls events from the past and the present. Woods survived the events of the first Black Ops and made it to the ripe old age of 95 at the very least. This man's old. Clearly, you will not be fighting in Wood's boots. Instead, you'll be locking and loading as the Masons. Alex Mason resumes his role as the main protagonist in the 80s era levels, while the modern day scuffles will be viewed through the eyes of David Mason. You know what they say, like father like son, particularly when it comes to enlisting in top secret global operative outfits and killing a lot of people. It also has a branching storyline. It would have been easy for Treyarch to deliver a familiar Call of Duty experience with a new time period and call it fresh, but Santa Monica Studio has arrived to defy expectations. And one of the biggest ways to prove Black Ops 2 is completely different to everything that the studio has developed before is to dispense with Call of Duty's linear storytelling and to introduce the element of choice. That's right, I said choice. You will now be able to choose your path you go on in the Call of Duty experience. At key points during the game, you'll be presented with multiple options, and the path you choose will dictate the fate of those around you as well as your own. I have read that a lot of these choices are skill-based, like if you fail to, say, protect a friendly, their death or capture will trigger a splinter in the storyline, rather than just fail the mission and have to redo it. Ultimately, the mechanic is designed to personalize each playthrough and encourage repeat visits to the campaign with an eye to improve your game and strive for a better finish. I'm hoping that Treyarch slides an extra branch in there, complete with an extra epilogue for veteran players who want to try and dominate the game's ultimate test. The fourth thing I want to cover is some sub-game modes that Treyarch is putting into the campaign. Step forward with the Strike Force game type. It's a sub-mode which lives within the campaign that sees special Black Ops squads traveling the globe and performing various tasks within small, open levels. The point of the game was to secure 3 checkpoints and hold back steady streams of enemies until various story elements involving said checkpoints had run their course. Playing into the previous thing that I was talking about when I was talking about the choices that you get to make in the game, at particular points of the campaign you might be asked to pick from a choice of Strike Force missions. The options you ignore could then be locked out until your next campaign playthrough to once again entice you back in to see what you missed out the first time over. So far you might be thinking that Strike Force is little more than an offline multiplayer game type populated by bots, but the reality is it's going to be far more interesting. At any point in time, you're going to be able to switch control between the men on the ground, the drones sulking around on the floor, the armed quadrators in the air, or, my personal favorite, a general monitoring the entire battlefield from afar courtesy of cameras high above the site. From this latter vantage point, it's possible to play the role of the puppeteer, pushing, pulling, probing, prodding, and penetrating enemy forces, while reacting to dips and vital signs and covering off opposing flanking maneuvers. It's a mode playable in so many ways to think to the freedom to swap between attacking forces. Plus, you can do this as frequently as you'd like without penalty. The result, a completely new experience for the franchise, and it's going to be amazing, and it's got me excited. Now let's talk about the multiplayer. Black Ops 2's multiplayer is going to take place exclusively in the game's 2025 future state, but beyond that, I have no clue, because firm details are scant until the official multiplayer reveal trailer is released later on in the year. But multiplayer lead David Vonderhaar, I probably murdered that name too, so I mean, don't judge me. He claims no feature is safe in the quest to make Black Ops 2 the best online experience to come to Xbox. To keep us happy, Treyarch has offered 2 main teasers as to the direction it's taking for this year's online fix. First up is the influence esports is having on the team. Treyarch have been fascinated by the number of people who both play competitively and watch competitive gameplay. Apparently, a staggering 3 million minutes of gameplay are viewed by the gamers and non-gamers every month, and this fascination is sure to have an impact on the Black Ops 2 setup. This means the online vault is probably going to be coming back. Secondly, the team has been looking very closely at developments with social media and social gaming, particularly when it comes to optimizing user navigational tools. Whether this means that Elite is going to get a visual rejig, or that Black Ops 2's multiplayer tab will talk or function like Facebook, nobody knows yet. Well guys, that pretty much wraps up this episode. I want to give a big thanks to CVG for allowing me access to all this information. I also want to give a big shout out to the Team Exact. They're a new sniping and quickscoping clan. They are very good. You should head on over to their channel for some amazing montages, and make sure to drop them a sub if you like what you see. There will be a link in the description to their channel, and there will also be a link right here on the screen. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. Peace out.